Here's the thing no one in the finance space wants to admit, and most of the advice that you've been given about fixing your finances, the budgeting apps, the debt snowball, the 50-30-20 rule, it isn't wrong, it's just in the wrong sequential order. And doing the right things in the wrong order is still the same thing as doing the wrong things. So stick with me for the next 10 minutes because I'm going to show you the exact sequence that I use to go from financial chaos, and I mean real chaos. I'm talking about overdraft fees on overdraft fees, to actually having money left over at the end of the month to invest. And more importantly, I'm going to show you why order matters more than discipline. So a few years ago, I thought I had it all together. About 5 years ago, I had a budget, I had a savings account, my business was moving towards the right direction, and I was doing all the right things, and yet I was still broke. Now, when I say broke, I'm not talking about broke, not sleeping on the floor broke, but the kind of broke where you check your bank account before you go to the grocery store. The kind of broke where a $400 car repair feels like a crisis. That kind of broke. So I read all the books, I watched all the YouTube videos, I knew about the debt snowball versus the avalanche debate, and I knew what a Roth IRA was, but nothing was sticking. And for the longest time, I thought it was me who had the problem as a financial advisor, that I lacked financial discipline. But here's what I eventually realized, and I didn't have a discipline problem. What I had was a sequence problem, because I was doing step 6 before I finished step 1, right? I was investing $50 a month while I still had $4,000 in credit card debt that was charging me 21% in interest, right? I had subscriptions that were bleeding me dry in apps that I hadn't logged into for months, right? So I was putting the cart before the horse, and I was building a roof before I'd laid the foundational layer. And the moment my mentor finally sat me down and said, stop, here's the order that you actually need to do this in, everything for me changed. And it wasn't because the advice was revolutionary, but because the sequence finally made it easier for me to get myself out of the hole that I dug myself into. So that's what this video is, the sequence, the order, the thing that most people aren't putting in the right order. So I call this the 7-level money restart, and here's why it's different from everything else that you've heard. So you see most financial gurus that tell you to treat your money like a math problem. You pay off the highest interest rate, you maximize contributions, you optimize your tax bracket, and yes, all of those things are important, but the thing is, you're not a spreadsheet, you're a human being, and humans need psychological wins before they can build financial systems. So if your financial plan requires you to be perfect, it's not a plan. What it is, it's a punishment. So here are the 7 levels in the exact order that they need to happen. Number 1, you'll want to stop the bleeding. So plug every financial leak right away. Then you'll want to build a tiny safety net, just $500 to $1,000, not anything too crazy. Then step number 3 is fixing your income. So this is the step that everybody skips, but it's actually the most important. Then you can destroy high interest debt, but not before step number 3. You'll then want to build a real emergency fund. That'd be your 3 to 6 months. And then now you're ready. You can start investing, even if it's only $25 a month, because momentum is better than perfection. And last but not least, you can optimize everything by refinancing, automating, negotiating. This is the fine-tuning stage. So there you have it, 7 steps. They're simple. And now let me break down each and every one of them. At level 1, you'll want to stop the bleeding. So before you pay off a single dollar of debt, before you open up a savings account, before you do anything, you stop the money from leaving you that's invisible, right? So you go through the last 30 days of bank statements, every single line, and then you'll want to highlight anything that reoccurs that you didn't consciously decide to spend. So this is the streaming services, the app subscriptions, the gym membership from 2021, that free trial that ended 14 months ago. Rocket Money is a great app for this. And most people are funding a lifestyle they don't even live anymore. So you want to cancel anything and everything that isn't essential or used on a regular basis. Every dollar that you recover here is a dollar that goes to work for you in the next step. Then you get to level 2. This is build a tiny safety net. Now we're talking $500 to $1,000. That's your only goal right now. Not $10,000. Not 3 to 6 months in expenses. just enough to stop a small emergency from becoming a debt spiral. Now you might be asking yourself, why such a small amount? Well, it's because the goal of this step is not financial security, it's behavior training. You are proving to yourself that you can save. That's it. So you want to open up a separate account, not the one attached to your debit card. You put it there and then you just leave it alone. Then you get to level 3. This is where you fix your income. Now, this is the one level that nobody talks about. And I'm going to say something here that is going to make some people feel uncomfortable. And you cannot budget your way out of an income problem. At some point, the cup is just too full. So most financial gurus skip this step entirely because it's hard to give generic advice about this. But the truth is, if you're living paycheck to paycheck, cutting a Starbucks coffee is not going to fix it. What you need is to look at your income and ask, is this actually enough for the life that I'm trying to build? And if the answer to that is no, then you've got two choices. Either increase your income or radically simplify your life. There is no third option. This could mean asking for a raise, taking on freelance work, selling something, starting a side hustle, whatever it is that fits your situation. But this step has to happen before you go on to tackle debt, because your income is the core problem. There's no debt payoff plan that survives contact without reality. Now you have level number 4, and you'll want to destroy high interest debt. Now you're ready. You've stopped the leaks, you've got the buffer, you've addressed the income problem. Now it's time to attack debt. So high interest first, and anything above 8%. You've got credit cards, personal loans, payday loans. These are financial fires that you put out first before you redecorate the house. So you use the avalanche method if you're a little bit more analytical, and then you use the snowball method if you need psychological wins, right? So either one works. The one you'll actually stick to is the right one. Then you get to level 5. This is the build the real emergency fund level. So 3 to 6 months of essential expenses, not your full lifestyle, just rent, utilities, food, and transportation. So you put it somewhere boring, inaccessible. High yield savings accounts are great. This is the financial immune system, and you're not supposed to think about it. It just exists there for when life happens. Then you have level number 6, and you're finally ready to start investing. So the best time to start investing was 10 years ago. The second best time is today. And even if it's only $25 a month, you have index funds, employer match 401ks if you have one, Roth IRAs if you qualify. So start simple, start small. The habit matters more than the amount at this stage. And finally, you have level 7, and this is where you optimize everything. Now you fine tune everything, you refinance your mortgage, you negotiate your insurance, you automate your savings and investments so you never have to rely on willpower. Then you start tax optimization. This stage is where all the financial videos that you see start at, but most people quit because they're too overwhelming. So you can only optimize something that already exists. So get there first. So now let me give you 2 examples of how this played out in the real world. When I finally ran the sequence myself, the first thing I did was cancel $187 a month in subscriptions that I wasn't using. Not because I sat down and budget, but because I stopped the bleeding first. And that $187 became my tiny emergency fund in less than 3 weeks. So seeing that account grow eventually gave me the mental momentum to keep going. Then I focused on income. I picked up a part-time bartending job as my business was growing, which added an additional $600 to $800 a month. And only then did I attack my credit card. I paid off $4,200 in 7 months. Not because suddenly I was more disciplined, but because the sequence was actually working for me. So the discipline didn't change, but the system did. And the system made discipline unnecessary. And then I had a client that I was working with, and she reached out after I had presented this process. Single mom, 2 kids, $22,000 in credit card debt, and she had tried everything and nothing seemed to work for her. So we walked her through this sequence, and level 1 alone saved her $240 a month, and she built a $500 safety net in just 5 weeks. Then this is the part that gets me. She got a $4 an hour raise she'd been too nervous to ask for. Suddenly the math shifted, and she paid off her first credit card in 4 months. then she laser focused on the second. She's not done, but she's moving towards the right direction, and that's the whole point. Now, I'm not here to tell you that fixing your finances is easy, because it's not, right? But I'm telling you that most people are making it harder than it needs to be by skipping the steps and doing them out of order, or starting at step 7 and wondering why things aren't working. Your finances aren't broken, your sequence is. So you fix the sequence and that'll fix your finances. So start with level 1, just do that, go through your last 30 days of statements tonight, cancel what you don't use, and that's your homework. And if this hit different from what you've been hearing, share it with somebody who needs to hear it. And if you want me to go deeper on any of these levels, drop it in the comments. I read every single one. I'll see you in the next one.